as far as the certificate is concerned, would I be able to demand it in silver?
Well, you have to. That's the only thing you can get it in. Right. Yeah, because this is a warehouse receipt for silver.
I know it is, but
Right.
then the government could say, well, why don't we just give the FRNs?
Well, if they gave you FRNs, well, then they would have to give you the market value of the silver at that time. Okay, but that is not according to the letter of the contract here. This is like a gold certificate. I was like, duh. It even says, I mean, silver certificate. This it even says silver certificate on here. Okay, and so I think you'd have an extremely strong case to demand only silver.
Well, like I said, the Liberty Dollar is my retirement.
Mine too. Mine too.
Like the way it's going.
Yeah. I think it's got a lot of potential. You know. Right. Okay. Another question. Now, if you don't ask me a question, I'm going to go back and eat the pizza. So you got to ask a question. Otherwise, this is going to be the briefest meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible for you to, I understand it's at great cost, but for Ron Paul's sake, could you make some more coppers for him?
Ron Paul wouldn't say that, so it's a hypothetical question. I don't really go into hypothetical areas because I'm not a hypothetical guy. You know, I mean, Ron Paul wouldn't have more made, okay? Because he didn't have these made. Oh, I gotta say something.
I know. I said, is it possible for you to make some more? I mean,
Yes.
possible meaning, I understood they confiscated the things that you...
Dies.
Dies? Okay. So it's not possible to make them?
Well, it takes money.
Yeah, you know, it's
And they took the money, so he's...
But I mean, if Ron Paul people got money to you, could you make some more coppers?
yes,
Okay, that was my question.
yes. It's
Maybe I
remotely-
should say, would you make some more coppers?
maybe.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because there's a lot of, you know, a lot of ways to skin that cat. You know, you're not. That's not a black and white question.
It's not.
No.
I didn't intend it to be a trick.
Okay, I understand that. But yeah, it's anything's possible, including Ron Paul's election. Okay, how about other questions? You've been thinking. You got a question? You're trying. Yes, sir.
I have a question for you. As I understand it, that before the raid occurred, there was actually a civil suit which was filed here, which actually was dealing with the issue of the U.S. Minsk claims. And that lawsuit was dragged out. My
No, it
opinion.
wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, not really.
Okay. I thought that they had filed, so dismissal, it went through dismissal motion, which was addressed, and then it was at some point going to go to trial, though.
No,
If the
never,
judge,
never goes to trial.
it'll never go to trial.
No, because it was I'm a plaintiff in that lawsuit.
Mhm.
Okay, so I filed a lawsuit against the United States government for declaratory judgment in federal court. So there is no trial. Okay, and it wasn't so much dragged out, as you put it. The fact is that it's just the way that the game is engineered. You know, usually in civil action, you know, the plaintiff has, you know, 30 days and the defendant has 15 days. But when you're dealing with the government, we had 30 days, 15 days to reply, and they had 60 days to reply. Okay, and then they talked to our attorney on the side and found out that they could get an extra 30 days, you know, and he gave it to them. So that bumped it up to 90 days. And at the end of that, they came back to him and said, hey, we need an extension. And he goes, no way. Bernard's already yelled at me. This isn't going to happen. So they went to the court. Well, the court had to give them some time, you know, because this is the first time they'd ever gone to the court, you know. So then they got 30 days from the court. Okay, so now we're up to 120 days, which is a third of a year, you know, which is a hell of a long time. Okay, but the reality is that's just how it's engineered. You know, it's kind of like dating. You know, there's a certain ritual. You know, you know, it just took some time, and then they finally responded, and then we responded, and they threw a lot of stuff at us, and we had 15 days to respond. 15. They had 120. We had 15. And so we went. We asked for an extension. And we got an extra 15 days, and then after that, we wanted to get another extension because now we were up to a whopping 30. And so we got an extension for another 30 days. So now we had 60 days. We needed to do it. I mean, you know, this is a very serious encounter by us, and we tossed some serious money on the table for legal representation. So, you know, it appeared like it took a long time, and it did. But that's just the nature of the process. You know, it's.
But then that was to go to a judge.
Right here in Evansville, Judge Richard Young. Absolutely.
So if that was going forward, that it was going to go forward, what would be the motive or the purpose behind the raid?
Well, I think there's a couple of different things. You know, one, we could just joke and say, well, that's a hell of a way to deal with a civil lawsuit. You know, so raid them, you know, charge them with federal crimes. Oh, I get rid of those little bastards. But you know, the investigation's been going on for a couple of years, you know. I think it could have been timed because of Ron Paul, because they could have raided us some other time. But the bottom line is that there were several things happening concurrently, and they just finally got around to conducting the raid, maybe rather strategically timed for Ron Paul product, possibly, I don't know. But you know, the thing is that with the criminal action, that'll trump the civil action, and the civil action will be dismissed and will be in criminal court. So that's where we are now. So it's been going along. You know, we actually have until January the 14th to reply to the latest government reply to our amended complaint. So I mean, you know, it's just like tit for tat for tit for tat, and each of these tits and tats take, you know, 60 days. So it's just the nature of the legal system.
But no criminal charges have been filed yet.
Not yet, not yet. But I mean, it's, you know, these guys have put a lot of effort into this, and they've confiscated a lot of product. You know, I would really be disappointed. I mean, seriously, if I wasn't arrested at this point. I mean, I'd have to go out and really commit a crime, son. I'm sure I'll be arrested. I mean, because they just, I mean, that's the nature of things, you know. Right. I mean, they don't go off and do this without arresting, except for marijuana. When it comes to marijuana, they go in, they raid the marijuana dispensaries like in California. They make off with all the good drugs. They don't ever bust anybody. I mean, this is just a flat-out rip-off. They just come in and they take marijuana and they leave. I mean, very few people have been busted for marijuana in California. Why? Because there's so much marijuana in California that they've clogged the courts even more than what it's clogged already. You know, 50% of all crimes in the United States are marijuana related. I mean, Jesus Christ, what a sick situation. Did you know that marijuana was legal tender back in 1706? Yeah, Lord Baltimore. This is an honest to God fact. Lord Baltimore made marijuana legal tender in 1706 in Baltimore, payable for debts and anything else, you know. Why? Well, because marijuana was the second most produced product in the United States. Second most produced product. Amazing, huh? I mean, look at it. I mean, there were so many uses, you know, for marijuana. I mean, it's widely suspected that the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, was probably written on marijuana paper. Hemp, in other words, you know. Anyway, hemp for ropes and, I mean, everything imaginable, you know. So anyway, it'd be hard to go out and bust all those people.